this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute little Icicle Stripes blanket. This blanket uses just a few basic stitches, so it's a great project if you're a new crocheter and you want to get lots of practice with those basic stitches, or even if you're a more advanced crocheter and you're just looking for a nice, simple, and relaxing project. This video will cover everything you need to know to make the blanket, from the yarn that you choose all the way to weaving in your ends. But if you do prefer to have a written pattern to refer to, that is also available in my Etsy shop, so I've provided that link in the description below. For this blanket, you'll need to use 2 colors of yarn. For mine, I used white as color 1 and faded denim as color 2. Both of these are Lily Sugar and Cream, which is a cotton yarn. For my hook, I used my H hook, which is 5 millimeters. I also used a pair of scissors for cutting my yarn, and a yarn needle for sewing in the ends. The amount of yarn that you'll need to use will vary based on the size of blanket you want to make, so I've included this calculation that you see on the side, where you can just input the length and width of the blanket that you want and figure out approximately how much yarn you'll need based on those measurements. To start, we are going to make a foundation chain. I'm going to chain 126, but you can chain any even number to get to the length that you want. After you've finished your foundation chain, you're going to start working in the second chain from the hook, and you're going to half double crochet in each chain. So for half double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into our working space, then yarn over, pull up 1 loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So do that slowly one more time. Yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up 1 loop, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So just work that half double crochet stitch in each chain across. And that will be your row 1. For row 2, you're going to start by making a chain and then turning your work. And that chain is not going to count as a stitch. And the first stitch that we make in row 2 is going to be directly into that last stitch from row 1. So for rows 2 through 8, we're actually going to just work half double crochet in every stitch across. So very simple, just a chain and then half double crochet in every stitch. I've finished my 8 rows of half double crochet, so now for row 9, we're finally going to start to change things up. So we're going to start with a chain and turning our work. And then for this row, we're going to alternate single crochets and then skipping a stitch and making a chain. So we start in the first stitch, we're going to make a single crochet. So you insert your hook, yarn over, pull through a loop, and then yarn over and pull through both loops, and then we're going to chain 1. And now we're not going to do anything in this next stitch, we're going to skip it, and then we're going to single crochet in the following stitch. So again, we insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then we're going to repeat that across. So we chain 1, skip, single crochet, chain 1, skip, single crochet, chain 1, skip, single crochet, and all the way across. As you get close to the end of row 9, you're going to take color 2 and you're going to lay it down right on top of those stitches from the prior row. And then you're going to continue working your repeats of single crochets and chains, but we're going to work our single crochets over top of that yarn. So when we do this, we're kind of preparing for the transition to color 2, and we're weaving that end in as we work, so there's less to do later on. For this last single crochet, this is where we're actually going to change to the next color. So you're going to start as normal. You insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then to finish the stitch, we're going to do our last yarn over with color 2 and pull through. So now we have color 2 on our hook and we're ready for the next row. For row 10, we're going to leave color 1 attached, but we're going to be working with color 2. So we're going to start with a chain, like we have all our other rows. And then for this row, we're going to alternate single crochets and double crochets. So we'll start with a single crochet in the first stitch. And then for the double crochet, we're going to be working into that stitch that we skipped in the previous row. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that stitch that we skipped, and then yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops on our hook. And then the next stitch is going to be a single crochet. And then again a double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And we're going to do that all the way across, alternating single crochet and double crochet. Now that we've finished row 10, you can see why this blanket is called Icicle Stripes. We have our icy blues, and the striping is kind of jagged. It reminds me of icicles, so that is where this blanket gets its name. For row 11, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and then we are back to our trusty old half double crochet. In each stitch across, we are just going to work 1 half double crochet. I'm approaching the end of row 11, and for the next row, we're going to switch back to color 1. So just like we did before when we were switching to color 2, for the last stitch of the row, we're going to start working it as normal. And then for the last yarn over, we're going to pick color 1 back up, just from a couple rows down, and we're going to yarn over with color 1 and pull through to finish that half double crochet. And now we're back to color 1 on our hook. And this time, we're not going to carry the blue all the way up because we're going to do another pretty big chunk of white. So I'm going to leave a tail about 6 inches or so. I'm not very good at estimating length with my eyes, but we're going to leave a little tail and go ahead and cut that. For row 12, we're going to be working with color 1 again. So we're going to start with a chain and turn our work. And now we're going to take this little color 2 tail and we're going to put it over top of the stitches that we're going to be working into. Just like we did when we were first switching to color 2, we crocheted over this tail so we don't have to weave in ends because I'm really lazy about weaving in ends. We're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to work again a whole row of half double crochets. Once you've finished row 12, you've officially finished your first icicle stripe. And now we're just going to repeat rows 2 through 12 until you're about 6 to 8 inches shy of the total length you want for your blanket. So starting with row 2 and working through row 12 as a review, it's 7 rows of half double crochet in color 1, and then Still with color 1, we work a row alternating single crochet and chain 1, where we're skipping a stitch when we do our chain 1, and then we switch to our icicle color and we alternate single crochet and double crochet, where that double crochet is reaching down into that skipped stitch from the previous row, and then we'll work a row of half double crochet in our icicle color and then switch back to color 1 for a row of half double crochet. So just repeat that and then meet me back here to finish up. Once you've worked as many repeats as you need to get to the blanket size that you want, you're going to work 7 more rows of half double crochet in white. And that's going to give us a nice thick strip of white to end our blanket just the way that we started it. So I'm finishing up my very last row after doing 11 repeats. I've got 11 blue stripes on here. And that is going to bring us to the end of the body of this blanket. And then all that we will have left is the border. All right, so there's the last stitch. I'm going to go ahead and pull open my loop and make a cut. Leave a nice long tail to weave in and just tie off. For the border, we're going to keep it really simple. We're just going to work 3 rows of single crochets, starting with a row of blue and then a row of white and then finishing with a row of blue. So to get started, I'm going to make a slip knot with my blue. I'll put it on my hook just to get it the right size. But then I'm actually going to put it behind the stitch that I want to start in. And I'll put my hook through the stitch where I want to start and then through that blue loop, and I'm going to pull it through to the front, and then from there I'm going to yarn over and pull through kind of like a slip stitch, and then I will chain 1, and I'll consider that the chain 1 to start my row, and then I will begin working single crochets in that stitch and then all the way to the end. I have this tail here. I'm going to go ahead and crochet over it like we've been doing with all our other color changes. That's one great thing about borders. You can hide your messy ends. So across the top it's really simple because we have those stitches that look like the top of any other row. So it's easy to know where to work in. And then when we get to the last stitch, we're actually going to work 3 single crochets because we need to add a little bit on the corner. And then I'm going to start working down the side. I've got to turn this blanket. And then as you're working down the side, it can sometimes be tricky knowing where to place your stitch, but it really doesn't matter a whole lot as long as you're consistent in where you're putting your stitch. So I'll aim to put a single crochet in the side of each row, but you can figure out what works with your attention and with your blanket and just start working down the side. So you'll do this all the way down the side of your blanket, and then again making 3 single crochets to turn the corner, and then you'll work across the bottom, and then you can work across the other side, and you'll get to the top and switch over to the next color. I've just finished working single crochets in blue for the first row of the border, and I'm back to where I started. So to transition to round 2, I'm going to go ahead and cut my blue and tie on the white. I want it to be right up against where I finished my last stitch. because now I'm going to use that white when I yarn over. I'm going to use a slip stitch to join to the first stitch. And there, now we have our white. And just like we did for the first row, we're going to single crochet all the way around, working 3 single crochets whenever we get to a corner. Once you've worked all the way around the edge of your blanket with white, we're going to switch back to blue using the same technique we used when we were switching to white. So I will go ahead and cut the white, tie the blue right up against our last stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch from the last row. And then from here I will chain 1 and then begin working single crochets all the way around. This will be our final row of the border. So same thing as before, we'll work 3 stitches in each of the corners when we make those turns. And you'll just keep going until we make it back to where we started. Once you've made it all the way around the edge for the 3rd row of your border, we are just about done. So you're going to make a slip stitch to the first stitch of the row, and then you can go ahead and cut your end, leaving a tail to weave in, and finish off with a knot. Now that we're all done crocheting, we're going to go ahead and use a yarn needle to weave in the ends. So you can thread your needle and then you'll just want to work underneath the stitches. And I like to go a few stitches over one direction and then go back and forth a couple times. The very last step I like to do with my projects is to steam block. So for that, I will just stretch it out somewhere and pin it to a surface so it's in a nice clean rectangle with no wobbly edges. And then I take a handheld steamer and I will just go over it a couple times, and that will help it to hold the clean rectangle shape and also to loosen up the stitches a little bit and just make it a little bit more flexible and comfy. Thank you so much for watching and crocheting along with me today. If you liked this video, you can check back on my channel. There are more blanket tutorials that will be coming soon.